Good evening. How are you doing tonight? It's Lana, and I know it's been a while since I've been online, and I just wanted to do a check-in and see how everyone is faring as these past few weeks have been quite interesting, quite jarring. Some people's lives have been completely flipped upside down. They felt like the earth has been taken out from underneath them, lost their grounding, whether literally or even on a sensation level. The idea that something doesn't feel quite familiar, things are changing in my life, and I have no idea where this is headed. And the question is of checking in with yourself, tuning in to your own essence and presence. Because ultimately, when we can sit in this present moment, that's when we can evaluate where we are in the sense of anxiety, fear, joy. Now, anxiety comes from trying to jump ahead to the future instead of being currently present in the moment. Whereas the fear is a combination of being stuck in the past and recreating these scenarios in our minds that we're anticipating because it's one we know, it's familiar. The fear can also be the unfamiliar because when change occurs, what do you expect? We tend to try to grapple for the known, the familiar, the things that we've already experienced, which is why the stories will run rampant in our minds. But if we can sit in the present moment and be completely grateful for just this moment, where we are, that's where the peace is. It's not trying to figure things out for the future or avoid things from the past. In order to create a new life, you have to surrender and check in with yourself and know that things are going to change and you're not anticipating and you're not expecting the same scenarios to run again. Because when you do that, you've been attached to this previous experience, or the mind comes up with a story. What you do is recreate those continuous experiences and stories that most times we don't want to have. It's very intriguing that the mind can recreate all the things that we don't want. Some people will call it Murphy's Law. When the worst can happen, Murphy's Law would say it will happen. But the reality is it's nothing to do with somebody called Murphy. This is the mind. This is the illusion. The trick is to understanding, to focus on this present moment and seeing the bliss and the gratitude for everything that you have. Yes, of course, all of your past and all of your experiences have brought you to where you are in this moment. And no matter how high they've been in ecstasy, enjoyment, and fulfillment, or how low they've been in the dredges, the worst of the lows, when you thought you hit rock bottom and couldn't get any worse, you've arrived to this moment. And nothing can take that away. So each of those experiences, up, down, left, right, sideways, whatever, has brought you to a moment where you can still be grateful, even for those lows. Because without the highs, without the lows, how could you appreciate what it is that does feel good to you? We need the contrast in life to have something to benchmark our lives and our experiences on. There's discernment, there's judgment. I find discernment is better because it comes from more of a neutral stance. Whereas judgment seems a little harder. And it means that you've put something, a like or dislike. You have an emotional attachment to something you judge. Whereas when you discern, you're seeing things as they are and not placing attachment to how you want them to be, whereas you do with judgment. So there's a beautiful quote by Albert Einstein. A human being is a part of the whole called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature and its beauty. Because we live in such a information overload culture at this point, in this moment, it's very easy to become distracted from what it is you have control of. If you watch the TV, you read the news, social media, and little things catch your attention and catch your emotions, then you will find that it takes you out of living in the now. It takes you out of being present and appreciating what you have in your life. Because it's out over here. And ultimately, you're only right here. Most of the stuff that we react and respond to has nothing to do with us personally. But we relate our own personal experiences to those scenarios. And all it is a distraction. It's an illusion of affecting your life. Now, one can argue many other things that do affect us or the people in our lives. But in the essence of being present right here, right now, nobody can impose upon you how you should or shouldn't feel except for your mind and really tapping in and tuning into your soul, your heart. The only reason we react and respond is because we have an unhealed trauma in our life, and it's like rubbing that raw wound. And whenever it gets rubbed with a little bit of salt sometimes, it brings up pain, it brings up the suffering. It makes us revert back to an old feeling, and we don't want that because that's that fight or flight. That's where the ego and the mind tries to protect us. On the one hand, it's trying to protect us, but the reality is we have to step back and become the witness and observer and see it for what it is and discern the reality. The wound is just something we haven't let go of. We haven't released it. We haven't allowed it to be healed and to understand it was just simply an experience at that time, that it no longer exists in this present moment. It's not who you are. It's just part of the journey of where you're going. It's brought you to where you're at today. It's something in the toolbox, let's say, to say, I experienced this. So you have an experience under your belt, but it doesn't dictate every experience thereafter. If anything, it can give you more compassion for yourself, for others who may go through it, but not to be so attached to it that you feel you have to keep retelling the story as if it's still happening. So the question of the day is, where are you in your present moment? What is your presence? Are you in joy? Are you in the past? Are you in the future? Are you exercising self-care and recognizing what needs you have versus getting caught up in stuff that takes you out of your own well-being? We tend in this society to easily get caught up in the moments, but they're not the present moment. It's the moments in the past and the moments in the future. And we're not hamsters. We don't need to be on that hamster wheel. We don't need to keep recreating. We don't need to keep doing the same thing over and over again and having the same results. With awareness, you have an opportunity to change your future experiences. And for every moment that you're grateful for what you have in this moment now, you're able to manifest something equally, if not better, to be grateful for as your future arrives in the moment. So I hope everyone's doing great and they're not allowing the monkey mind to take them on the spin. If you have any interest in hearing about anything in particular or questions for me, please feel free to message me or reach out. Many love and lots of blessings, many blessings and lots of love. I hope that you're enjoying this gorgeous autumn time frame. For those of my Florida friends, we are finally experiencing some cool breezes and it's very pleasant. So, good night and God bless. Sincerely.